Can hate transform into love? A beautiful question. There was a man called Saul. He too hated Jesus. You see, in the beginning, as long as the mind is ignorant, it will go on hating out of jealousy, out of anger. But a day comes in his life when he became blind. He was walking through the forest and he stumbled upon a rock. His eyes started bleeding and he became blind. For 20 years, this man had hated Jesus and his followers. He had tortured many Christians, many followers of Jesus. And when he lost his eyes, the first name that came to his mind was that of Jesus. He ran, he ran to meet Jesus. And Jesus was sitting under a tree, engrossed in his bliss. And he didn't even recognize who this man was. Jesus simply moved his hand over Saul's bleeding eyes. And the greatest miracle happened. Saul's eyes were healed. And at that very moment, the old Saul died and a new Saul was born. Saul hugged the feet of Jesus. He cried and cried, and there was no stopping. With every drop of tear, his ego was washed away. His ignorance was washed away. And then Saul said, Master, from today the old Saul has died and a new Saul is born. And to remember this golden moment of transformation, from today I change my name from Saul to Paul. And this is how Saint Paul was born. Saul became Paul. Saint Paul is the founder of the Christian church. He built many churches in the medieval Europe, in the old age Europe. He became one of the greatest lovers of Jesus that the world had ever known. Hate can transform into love. And when it transforms, whole life transforms. There is no looking back. The sky is clear and you are ready to fly. In the omnipresence of the divine masters, how long can hate stand? Someday it has to give its way to love. The master says, if you want to hate me, be firm. Because if you move even a bit from your stand, then you may fall in love. Always remember, questions are of the mind, but answers are from the heart. And the heart is always right. The heart is always right. Mind is a creation of society. It has been educated. The heart is natural. The heart is unpolluted. A book can bring you to the stage of knowledge. My purpose is to take you and all my listeners beyond the stage of knowledge. And that is possible only when you start moving beyond the monkey mind. Bhagavan Raman Maharshi says, you may go on reading any number of book on meditation. They can tell you realize the self, but the self cannot be found in books. You have to find it for yourself. Books can bring you to a certain stage of understanding, but that should not be the final stop. For many people, the book becomes the final stop because the mind is happy to read. But the moment you sit down and start meditating, the same mind creates havoc and won't let you meditate for even a single minute. And my purpose is simply to help you all to find the real thing. And the real thing is within you. The real treasure is within you. The greatest book of all subjects and all stars and moons and planets is within you. God is within you. Everything is within you. And yet, people ask where to find, where to go, where to ask. The Sufis have a saying. It's a very old saying. The Sufis say, man is the only donkey who goes on falling in the same pitfall. Every day, every moment, every life, he goes on repeating the same mistakes, the same ignorance. Come out of this ignorant life. Life repeats itself mindlessly until you become mindful. Many of you must have experienced breakups, divorces, failed marriages. Why? Because you are repeating the same mistakes, the same ignorance that you have been doing from the many past lives. Your sex life is also a failure. Why? Because you are not listening to what life has to say. Life is giving you a new direction. Life is saying enough, but you are not in a position to listen. Who is this you? It's your mind. The mind is a monkey. It won't let you live in peace. The nature of the mind is being restless. And because you become the mind, you continue to suffer. The mind is also very sexual. Let me tell you all this. The moon, which represents the mind, is highly sexual by nature. Sexual organs are directly connected to the mind. The mind controls your sexuality, your sexual organs. And the same mind also controls you. Now tell me how much havoc this mind can create, especially when you have become the mind, when you are following the mind, when you have become a slave of your mind. Mind is a beautiful servant, but the same mind is a dangerous master. Rahu is the north node of the moon, the mind. And it is this Rahu that makes you miserable. and you know the reason. The reason is the nature of clinging that Rahu brings along. Clinging or attachment is the root of human suffering. Why is it difficult for you to stay alone when your girlfriend or boyfriend has left you? Why? Because of the attachment. Because you have been clinging so much that now, when the other person has left, you are totally lost on what to do. And the irony is that you are again looking for someone to whom you can cling to. You see, your attachment, your clinging becomes the greatest hurdle between you and your happiness, your peace, your bliss. You only lose what you cling to, says the Buddha. So come out of this nature of clinging, and you will be able to do so when you start moving out of your mind, because it is the mind that clings. The heart is always free, always. Just be in this present moment and let life flow. Life is a river that would always guide you in the right direction. Always remember, the river has no destination. Our life also should have no destination. Only then can we truly live, truly rejoice, truly celebrate life. Life is the greatest journey you will ever be on. And I pray to God that may all you insightful souls and listeners enrich and raise the quality of your life by raising the level of your consciousness. How will you raise the level of your consciousness? And the answer is by turning inwards, by becoming more and more meditative. Love deeply, love without jealousy, love blissfully, and help each other to be more meditative. Look within, quiet the chattering mind, and the soul will speak. Meditate.